Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Lady Grace, and you are on Soul Sisters. We're so glad that you came in and join us here one more time. I would just like to tell you a little bit about us. If you don't know, this might be your first time. We're a network of women in ministry looking to uplift, encourage, highlight our sisters and what they do in the community, giving positive feedback of what you can do and how you can make things happen for yourself. On our platform tonight, we have three wonderful women in ministry. It's Pastor Barbara Jackson,
Woohoo!
Cynthia Renee Anderson, and Evangelist Flossie Berry. Welcome.
Yes.
Evangelist Flossie, could you lead us in prayer, please?
Oh, sure. Father God, in your precious name, we thank you for this day. For this is the day that you have made. We are so glad and we rejoice in it. Father, we thank you for life, health, strength. We thank you to Heavenly Father for waking us up in our right mind. Father, as we go before you on today and before the people, we ask you to bless them. Oh God, we ask you to send whatever we're going to say, whatever our guest is going to say. We ask you to allow it to bless the people that are hearers today. Father, we ask you to encourage, lift up, empower. Oh God, do what you do best. And we thank you, oh God, for liberating someone even on today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that. So how's everybody been doing?
Awesome. Yes.
Awesome. Great. Nothing new, nothing exciting, nothing going on?
Surviving.
Surviving. We're making it.
Listen. Oh my goodness. This is the season that if you are saved, you are being tried.
Yes.
If you are saved. There's people that's not saved or safe and they don't care and everything comes out of their mouth. But I'm telling you, during this season, my faith has been challenged to the degree like I'm glad I'm saved because it wouldn't be good around me.
Amen.
I've been challenged, but I'm still prayerful, and I know who I am in Christ, and that's the thing that has grounded me. Having a prayer life has really kept me, knowing my connection with God.
Yeah, I think Pastor Barbara, what you said, having a prayer life, I feel like if you never pray before, you find that that's what you're doing. If you don't even have a prayer closet, you probably have one now. Because, with everything that we have been combated with, from the pandemic to the social unrest, the racial tensions,
yes,
and then your daily life, if you never felt like you needed God or to know God, and this time you really, really need to know him. And I feel like this is a time that, although everything is happening around us, God is drawing not only his people, but those that need to know him closer to him.
Amen. I was on a couple Zooms and I think it was last week, could be 2 weeks ago. Well, either way, people, although, churches and stuff are opening, people have been verbally, they just I think they've become content staying at home, and just watching ministry, watching the VIT, networks from here to there, enjoying, this show and that one. And so, I don't know how churches are feeling right about now because our church opened last week, but people, they seem to find this place now that they're kind of happy staying at home. Like, how is this going to work? Have this whole pandemic work against the church?
Well,
nothing to say.
I don't know about you, Pastor Anderson, or you, Pastor Barbara, but I think I won't say it worked against the church. Mm-hmm. What I will say is that it has opened doors for others who may not have known or may not have seen or may not have witnessed so many things that we do by being church members. They're now witnessing them. It's giving them the opportunity to tune in no matter where they are, all over the world. They're tuning in, and they're tuning into Pastor Anderson's, and they're tuning into Pastor Barbara's and to Lady Grace's, because they have that opportunity now. They're, like you said, they're home, and they never had that chance before. And also, I think what the pandemic has done, because people are still nervous, it's still allowing people to be able to worship, but they worship in the vicinities of their own homes with their family.
Yeah.
You know, can I say something here?
Uh-huh.
I wholeheartedly agree. But what I'm seeing in our wonderful New York State is people are not taking this pandemic serious only when it comes to the church.
That's true.
You're right.
When it comes to the church, all the faith, the fear, all that conversation, that narrative. But then you see them, you know, different places I've been. My daughter just had a baby shower, and I seemed like the enemy. And I saw them rolling their eyes at me, getting upset. And I said to one, "Did you get mad at me because I said put your mask on?" "No, yes, you did." They got mad. "Put your mask on." You know, I said my daughter has got to have a baby, and if she tests positive for COVID, she don't get to see her baby. If she tests positive for COVID, I'm around her. I'm old. I ain't no spring chicken.
No.
Be like, you know, they'll go through theirs and come out with jump rope. I go through mine and like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? But I notice they'll come to all kind of functions and be excited. They don't want no boundaries. They don't want no barriers. They don't want masks. They don't want the social distancing. But when it comes to church, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. You're right.
I don't know.
You know, because people are upset because the malls are not opening. They don't know. I'm saying here in New York, the malls are not opening, and the governor is not saying when. The gyms are not opening. The governor is not saying when. And so people are upset because they can't go back to normal in those things and you know, everything else, you know, but, you know, church, they're content to stay home. I'm not saying everybody, but I've heard this conversation, like the buzz around, you know, town, you know, that, you know, they've been enjoying church and, you know, kind of like, you know, kind of happy watching it virtually.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying people got to run out the door to go to church, because being a pastor, seeing how things are, if you're still trying to get people to put masks on outside of church, what are they going to do in church? Right. And then you get all of these people together, and we don't want to backset. You get a backset with pneumonia. You can have a backset after having a baby. You can have a backset after COVID-19. Right now, New York is in a great place. I know, Pastor Barbara, y'all over there struggling in the South.
We are in Florida.
New York is in a good place right now. They put a thing up saying Strong Hospital, which is our big critical hospital, have no one from COVID-19 on the ventilator. What?
Wow.
Look at God.
Yeah.
Look at God. So that's good. So I want to be able to keep it that way. But God deals with your motive and intent of the heart.
Yes.
So even if you can't get there justifiably, right? Make sure that your heart is right toward church, like your heart is right toward the gym, like your heart is right toward the spa, like your heart is right toward the mall. That I wish I could get there, right? And I roll on the floor. But people that have gotten there, that say, "Oh, I can't wait to get to church." When they got there, or when the opportunity arose, they didn't accept.
Yeah. You know, I think this really shows up when, you know, the scripture said, forget not to assemble yourself together. You know, that comes with meaning and with purpose, because when you assemble yourself together without you consciously or unconsciously, you kind of unite in the spirit. You know, you kind of unite in love and in fellowship, and it keeps you motivated. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, despite, you know, and I've been enjoying virtual, you know, worship and things like that too. But there's nothing like, it's like fast food. You know what I'm saying? We go to restaurants all day. And, you know, I I don't even say I don't like to cook, but we we enjoy eating out.
I got me some Salisbury chicken. I got me some country sweet chicken.
Pastor C gonna cook all day and all night. But fellowship is kind of like it grounds you. It kind of grounds you and solidifies. When we go to church, I pray at home. I can pray in my car. I can pray different places. But when you at the altar or when you in the sanctuary, it's just, I don't know. It's made just like a more enriched experience. A more enriched worship. I don't know whether you feel the same or not.
Yeah, it's just an anointing that flows when you're there, tangibly there, versus on the phone. And we know the spirit at home watching, but it's just something about coming together corporately and being under the house together. And so, even if people are just not ready to go back, I understand that. But you got to set in your heart, your mind to let me assemble myself. When the church doors are open and it's safe, go back to your local church. Don't forget about coming back to your local church. Be committed, because number one, the church needs you and you need the church.
Right.
And Pastor Barbara, things could happen quicker if we had willing workers and people that were concerned to look at what your state is demanding you to do and saying, hey, I'll do this. I'll make sure that's taken care of. They're not saying don't open your doors. They're saying here is the guideline.
Right.
Keep the curve down. If we do this, you should fare all right. They've given us some hard things. It's like me when I started daycare. I was like, my God, this is utterly ridiculous. But then I found myself saying, you know what? I'm good about this, because at least it's for the safety of myself and the protection of myself and the safety of the children. So what they're doing is setting in laws that will not only protect the people, but will protect the pastor. And so we have to pause and we have to embrace. I was on a Zoom this morning, and one of the pastors said, I was open, but I stepped back down because the guidelines are big. They're saying that the praise team singers, they have to have a shield done now.
Is that New York?
New York State. And so they, I got to look at the different things, and I'm like, Jesus, take the wheel, Jesus. Take the wheel, will you, Jesus? Take it, will you, will you, will you?
I'm telling you, the church is being tried.
I think, ladies, in listening to all of you speak, there's several things, like what Pastor Anderson said, keeping up with the guidelines, because you don't want to open your doors until the guidelines are really met. Two things. One is, if you look at it from this perspective, the church is not the building. And I definitely understand everyone. I believe the communion and coming together is the thing. And I think that's what you all are trying to basically say. The church is not the building. What if we never get back to the building?
Oh God.
And the leaders then do? What would be the option for everyone? I think back to Acts 2, when the church first started. What were they doing? Were they in a building? No, they were going from house to house. They sold of their stuff and they gave to one another. So it was a whole different thing. And I am under the persuasion that who knows?
I agree.
I agree.
I agree. The thing is, great, Pastor Flossie, my thing is, every morning that I get up and I can see the grass, I'm still here.
Yes.
So if I can see the grass, that means that there's hope for a better day.
Yes.
And so, the Bible tells us, don't be weary
and well doing.
We're doing well right now, because in your due season, the time of God, all right, we're gonna reap if we faint not.
Okay. Don't start it.
We about to go to church. We about to
The
go
Holy
to
Ghost
church.
interrupt the
We about
lie.
to go to church. We're gonna
Right.
reap and we faint not.
And
That's what I'm trying not to do, Mimi. I'm
Y'all
trying
know.
not to faint, girl.
Y'all know I'm gonna ride the word. I'm gonna ride the word, right? And so the Bible gives us a command,
Yes.
even in this. I want my members. I wanna hug them. I wanna be with them. I wanna come. I want to know every Sunday, every Wednesday we're coming. I want to see the youth running through the building again.
Yes.
However, these scriptures are now demanding us to really embrace them.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So the Bible says, the Bible says,
Go ahead.
hardness as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. And so if we're soldiers in the army of the Lord, then we're going to ride. God, I feel a bishop. I feel a Bishop Lambert Gates sitting on my shoulder. He said sometimes you got to ride the ropes. And I believe that's what the church is doing.
My God.
We're riding the ropes. They weren't down for the count, right? But they were not so luck. Y'all, I'm gonna stop because y'all.
Go ahead. I'm with you. Go ahead.
You're blessing somebody. You're blessing somebody.
So as pastors, as educators,
yes,
we have to be the first partakers to be an example to the people of how to go through. It blessed me on, I believe it was Pastor Barbara, yours, and the Zoom on Monday night. Mm-hmm. And it blessed me where we got to get control of our actions and just ride this thing. We can't lose it right now. Mm-hmm. We've got to maintain. Mm-hmm. We got to hold still. Yeah. We got to be rock solid and know that God has a massive plan. He don't have to tell us everything at one time. Faith told Abraham, the word told Abraham to go. Faith said, start moving. When the children of Israel knew that there was a promise in Canaan, all right, that they had to go through the wilderness. They had to embrace that wilderness struggle. Some couldn't, but others did. Joshua and Caleb, and that's where we've got to be as pastors. Today, we got to have that Joshua and Caleb mentality. It's hard. I know. I got a big yard. I want to go in my yard and just scream and scream and scream and let the rabbits and the deers and everything just run and the frogs jump. I just want to scream like, I want my church back. But God, as much as I'm screaming that, God is saying, I want my church back. On the backside of the desert for a reason.
Yeah, for such a time as this.
Somebody ain't gonna believe it, but yes, this is a wilderness.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
You're right. We go through in 11 days. What do we go through and sit here and die here, just complaining and mumbling and grumbling? What do we do?
Yes.
Stand still.
Yeah.
The salvation of the Lord.
Not talking to yourself. I talk more to myself now than ever before. Don't think I'm crazy. I just got to talk my way through this thing.
We all do. You ain't by yourself. You are not by yourself. We all got to talk to ourselves and remind ourselves.
That song is sometimes you have to encourage yourself.
Come on.
I'm like getting on my knees and tearing for the Holy Ghost. Like, Lord, do I need another dip? Do I need another dip of the Holy Ghost? God, what is
I'm telling you. I'm telling you, this is the season that we got to know what we know and who we know. And we got to stand on the word of God because the enemy is not fighting fair. And even the saints are being tried. Those are dedicated, committed to God, preaching pastors, bishops. If you're saying that you're not, then you're lying. The truth is not in you.
Right. It was good that I was afflicted, right? Can we all say that?
See?
Yes. She want the mic. You know she want the mic. She got it.
I'm gonna preach tomorrow. But listen, it's good. It's good. And so the question is just, you almost made me tell you shut up on here, and I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know how we talk when we ain't on here. You trying to pull me out so they think I'm crazy. Right? She be on there telling me to shut up. She be on there saying, but listen.
That's what we do, guys. We have a good time.
Yes.
But this is what I want to ask you, ladies. Haven't we all matured from this?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yes.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
So we're not wasting the crisis.
No.
Right.
No.
I like that.
So I guess what I was trying to say is that, we do have a speaker for tonight, but I was trying to say that, everybody, are not, where they need to be,
Right.
So in times like this, a natural humanistic side, you need comfort, you need encouraging words, you need the physicality of being there, and somebody holding your hand and looking you in the eye, and so, I guess, we have to do what we have to do, you know what I'm saying? And no matter what happened, I don't know why this is coming upon us, but God knows, and for such a time as this, He has provided, and maybe it could be Him weeding out and weeding in, I don't know, but we're just going to continually trust in God, right?
Amen.
Amen. So we have an awesome speaker with us tonight, talking about education, educating our children during such a time as this. She's going to give us some insight. Pastor Barbara is going to introduce her.
Yes. The young lady name is Tenika Wilcox. She's a teacher in the enlarged city of Troy School District for 23 years. Tenika is the founder of the United Sisters of New York, Inc., an organization dedicated to supporting personal growth among women and supporting women's education by providing scholarship to women who wants to pursue their educational goals. Tenika is also an author of a book. The name of the book is The Beauty Within Us. She speaks, she's as a spoken word artist and a member of her Temple monologue since its inception. Tenika loves to write her thoughts on paper, and has had a wonderful opportunities to share those thoughts with the world through her Temple monologues. Please welcome Miss Tenika Wilcox.
Hello, Tina. How you doing? Welcome, Soul Sisters. Tell us a little. I know Barbara read your bio, but tell us a little about yourself. I would so like to hear about. You have a sisterhood program yourself that you work with.
Yes. So the first thing is, and I know that anybody that's watching, my friends, are gonna laugh. But the first thing is, my name is Tenika.
Tenika. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
So my name is Tenika, and I have been teaching for 23 years. I do have an organization. In 2003, it's called the United Sisters of New York, and what we do.
Oh, she's frozen.
Should be back.
Maybe you want to give us a solo in the meantime? I'm teasing.
We need a savior.
She's back on?
No, let me text her and see whether she's frozen.
In times like these.
There we go.
Okay, Cynthia. Okay.
You're in the show. I said, keep it moving.
Okay.
So that's what we do is we give educational scholarships to women who are going back to school or seeking a training or anything to better themselves.
So I should have looked for a scholarship when I was in school, huh? I missed out on that.
Correct. Graduating seniors and women who are returning back to school. Our recipient this year is a woman that's returning back to school. So.
Awesome. And you do monologues, like you do poems and things like that?
Yes, I do spoken word.
Wow. Come on, give me one. Give me one. You gotta know some by heart. Go ahead.
I am not one for right off the cuff.
Right.
I have
Google.
people in the group that are like that, but I am not that person. So
Okay.
I will look for one, and hopefully by the end I'll be able to give you one that I wrote.
Okay, I'm going to keep you to that one. Okay, so Miss Tenika is here. She is a teacher. Fourth grade?
Fourth grade. I've taught pre-K, kindergarten, second, and fourth.
Yeah, and so her interest is education, especially our sisters and brothers. And there's a big concern with education of our kids in general across the nation, you know, despite what color you are, but more so in the African-American community or the Black community, because we're so much at a disadvantage most times than other particular races. So we really need to be mindful of our children and what they're studying and doing over the summer. And we need to do things to kind of prep them along the way, and so that they would be able to succeed and or not just be in the next grade, but be able to pass and keep up with the work provided there, because this right now is a crucial moment. This can make determination how they do on their SATs, their ACTs in high school. This is a major chunk, you know, especially those probably in 5th and 6th grade and things like that. So Tenika, I give you the floor.
Okay. So
I'm sorry. Somebody says happy birthday, Tenika. So we want to say happy birthday.
Thank you.
Right. Your birthday was Thursday, right?
My birthday was Thursday, and I turned 51. So
welcome.
And first, my son said, you need to celebrate. Well, because I was in the house because, you know, of COVID and everything. I'm in that age bracket now where you can't just be going out. So my son, my 12-year-old said, Mommy, you got to celebrate. He's like, you really got to celebrate your birthday, because each year now it's you know, it's more important, because he said it takes 365 days to get to the next one. And I'm thinking, Lord have mercy. I never thought of it like that. I never thought of it like 365 days.
Right.
So I celebrated with the family, so it was really nice. But 51 and counting.
God is good. God is good. We appreciate him for taking us to this moment. Amen.
I was listening to Sister Flossie, Barbara, and the one next to me.
Cynthia.
Pastor Anderson.
Pastor Anderson. Cynthia. I was listening to her as she said, when she touches the grass, and I was going, when my feet touch the ground, as soon as I get off the bed, I'm like, thank God. Amen. I'm just trying to get to the side of the bed and get up. So
yeah. When I wake up in the morning, when I open my eyes and I breathe in, breathe out, I'm like, another day. Another day.
Here we go. We're all getting ready.
Yep. Okay.
So one of the things I was, when I was speaking to Sister Grace, is that she was talking about how to have children, or how to get parents involved, and parent engagement is one of the things. And through the pandemic, it has been very difficult because if you had trouble reaching out to those parents when the kids were in school, just imagine how it is when you are now in the front of the computer trying to get parent input and also the children to be involved. It's been a challenge for people.
Yes.
I know that, like, one of the things that I did find out one of the things I found out by switching over to technology is that it's just important to have those relationships. And I know that when you were talking about church and being out of the building, and how you are missing that social interaction. It's the same way for students and teachers. It's the same way we are missing that social interaction that we would normally have with children. And now we're relying on them to tune in every day to be involved in their education. They almost have to be really even more responsible than they were before. So that has been that has been a difficult task. But I think when you establish relationships with parents and you establish relationships with the students, it does make it easier. And so, I try to encourage teachers to maintain those relationships or set them up early, because what happened was it was March. And so, if you haven't been to a parent conference or you haven't been, PTO meeting, PTA meeting, you're really out of touch of what is going on or what your child needs. So one of the things that I would encourage people is the first thing is as simple as start looking in their book bag. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but it's one of those things where it's like, look in your child's book bag and see what's in their book bag.
Right.
It could be something as simple as a note, a letter, something from a teacher, something that was coming up at your school. Make sure that, because you can't depend on your child. You are the parent at the end of the day. So you can't depend on your child to give you what you should be just asking for or looking in their book bag.
Right.
So looking in their book bag, making sure it's cleaned out, making sure that all the papers are taken out, making sure that you're looking at their work. Attending parent conferences. We have 2 to 3 conferences a year. Show up. If you don't show up, and I understand that parents are busy and they may have 1-2 jobs and they may not be able to get to the teachers at those times, but making those appointments, letting the teachers know that I'm interested in my child's education. Because working in this business for 23 years, I know that teachers, once they know that you're not going to show up, then they don't show up.
Right. It's kind of like healthcare, I guess. We wouldn't let, say, our parents or older, even our children, we go and we make sure they get the vaccinations they need or that we make sure they get the health things they need and stuff like that. We have to be a part of it to ensure that their health is where it needs to be at. And I guess the same thing we need to take in concern with their education.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that when you do take that concern and when it's something as simple as I'm looking in your book bag, I'm seeing what you're doing, what's going on, when is your parent conference, and calling the teacher up, making those, even if it's a phone conference, just letting that shows your child that you consider, that you think that education is important enough. Yeah. And so just doing those couple of things, joining the PTO, PTA. I mean, I am a teacher, but then I have children. So having to do both roles, I may not show up at every PTO, PTA meeting because of my job or because of something I'm doing. So being able to, if they send home a note saying, we need this for some event or something, being able to donate, but just letting the school know that you are present. You don't have to be present in body to be present in spirit, mind, and letting people know that you are concerned about your child's well-being.
Right. And that's very important. If I can interject, I'm just talking from me personally. I was never a PTA person. I didn't go to those things in school and stuff. And when I did go, I was like bored to death, And so I'm like, they would be talking about raising money for this or raising money for that. And I thought, I thought I was going to learn more about my child and things like that. But I learned, and this is a learning curve, a learning process from being a younger parent to a more mature parent. I understand. And one of the principals always said, why don't you come? Why don't you come? Your involvement, just being present lets the teacher know, just like say if your grandmother or something is in a nursing home. You can't just go once a month, every other month. Once you start showing up every day, just showing up, you might not even know everything that needs to be done, but by you showing up, you ensure that they're treated properly. And so sometimes, us, again, like I said, I've been to PTA and I really didn't enjoy it. But that's why our presence there, teachers understand that this is a concerned parent. We need to be on our tips and toes with that.
Right.
And then another thing is just something as simple as asking. I know people do this all the time, but asking their child how their day went, and really asking them how their day went. Not how did your day go, and then your child goes good. Well, asking them more questions. What did you do? What did you learn? Tell me one thing you learned. Tell me something that didn't go so right today. because then again, you're showing your child that you're interested in how their day went. You're interested in knowing all the facets of the day. How did it go? Because even then, sometimes something will happen at school, and by the time your child gets home, they may forget that that's what happened that triggered whatever response or whatever is going on at school. You'll never know if you have those kind of conversations with your child.
You're right.
So opening that kind of dialogue, and your child is expecting you to ask them what happened at school today. What did you learn at school today? Mm-hmm. You know, can also give you a window into what they're learning and what they're being taught. Because as you know, education is one of those systematic racism educational systems that if you don't ask your child what they're learning, and you just really think that the teacher is teaching your child and you're not having any part in that process, mm-hmm. you are just as complicit as the teacher that is taking it from the school book and teaching it to your child. Right. You really have to be and what your child is learning, what they're ingesting, just like, you know, the church. You teach from the Bible and you're teaching your children, you know, how the church goes. It's the same thing for education. Right. You need to be actively involved in that as well.
Right. And I hope some parents are listening to us today. I mean, because mine was a learning process for sure. I thought, you know, that, you know, teachers were going to teach my kid. You know what I'm saying? So I sent them off happily. And I just expected them to do the right thing. I thought, you know, that's why we send them to school. But really, you know, just like in our jobs, you have some people that's more motivated at work than others. Some people that's doing more at work than others, and some people that's carrying the load. So that same personality is in school. And so, you know, maybe we're not saying teach this math, because, you know, that math is another thing we could talk about. But see, you know, that your child, how you like it, how you like the subject, what are you doing? Are you having any difficulties? Calling the teacher up, making contact. You know, that is a lot of support for both teacher and child, you know, so they can progress along.
Yeah. There is a question.
Okay, yeah.
Bree has a question. She said, I have a son that doesn't want to go back to school. How would you advise the parent for the fall when school starts? And then she says, Micah says, hi, Miss Tenika, from our little star actor.
I love him. So I would, like, if he doesn't want to go to school, why doesn't he want to go to school? What was it that made him not want to go back? What is it that is making him not want to go back to school? Because, you know, just like us, we've fallen back where, you know, I heard you guys talking about the church and, you know what, we don't want to go to, you know, we really like this online church.
They like your online church at one time.
I don't have to put on my jewelry piece from paparazzi today, you know.
Watch it.
It's the same thing for kids. They've gotten comfortable. You know, it's easy to roll up out the bed. You don't have to put no clothes on. Put your pajama top on. Sit in front of the computer, and it's making them feel comfortable. So yes, they don't want to go back to school because of all of the pressure that is put on in school. You have to change classes. You have different personalities. You have the kids. You have the teachers. You know, so it's a lot of stress. So asking him why specifically he doesn't want to go back to school, and then like really having those kind of conversations with him every day, because one of the things we don't want is children to not want to be in school.
Right.
You don't want to get those kids in the mindset. And that's why I said there's like those simple things that you do lets the child know, even if I get it, because I was a single parent for, you know, ever. And I know how hard it is to raise 2, 3, 4 kids on your own. And then you have jobs to go to and you have cooking and you know, there's things going on in your life. So when I say to do those simple things, it's just letting your child know that you value education. You may not be as involved as the parent who, my son says, volunteers at the school and like, why can't you? Because you need to eat and I need to. That's why I'm not volunteering at the school. So, you know, well, I find that when the parents are more, that when they come to the school and they volunteer, that their kids get treated better. But my 12-year-old's on the level, so you can't really go by my 12-year-old. He's really on another level. But I said, look, those parents, they have the privilege to do that. I don't. I have to be at work. I'm teaching kids, just like your teacher is teaching you. I'm teaching other children, and so I try to take a day off or try to do something that go on a field trip, just to kind of show them that. And that's the sacrifice I have to make. I have to go on a field trip with them, or I'll go in and read to his class, or, I'll go in to just show him that I may not be here every day because I don't want to be here every day, but I may not be here every day, but I am here for you. I am good. This is something that I'm going to do for you. And sometimes that's even more special than being there every day looking at them.
Right. So we got them at night. She's saying her situation is a bullying situation. Yeah. So how do you deal with the child that now is sitting home, have not experienced being bullied, and feel like, hey, this feels good to me, but now they have to go back to school? She said, how do I navigate him back, or get what are some tools for me to deal with the bullying part, to be able to get my child conditioned for the fall to go to school and be peaceful about it? Right.
I think one of the things she could do is go to school with her child and talk to the teacher in regards to what happened to them in the previous year in regards to being bullied. And if the child knows a specific teacher or a specific child that they were being bullied by, maybe talking to the principal. Look, I don't think my child should be in this class, or this child should be in this class with my child, because there were some situations last year that my child was even scared to come back to school this year because of.
Right. Yeah.
And that happens a lot. A lot of times children are bullied. And one of the things I say at parent conferences is I tell the parents, if you talk to your child and there's anything that your child is telling you, you need to come and let me know. Your child may not have told me because they may not be comfortable telling me. Right. And that's okay. But I need you to tell me what's going on, because I have 25 kids in my class. Right. And something may be happening. It might not necessarily be happening in my class. It could be happening when they leave the class and they go to the gym or they go to the cafeteria, that they're being bullied. And so I don't know what's going on unless your child either talks to me or talks to you. Right. And you come and let me know, and we'll work on it together. Right. So it's that communication that is key. So when you have a bullying situation like that, you really have to stay on top of it, because that does impact the child's education.
It does. And I have to say, nowadays bullying is taken really seriously at school, really seriously. People that are bullied.
If not, you need to make sure that it's being taken seriously.
You have to mediate for your child, just like you mediate for their health care, you mediate for them to go to church, you have to mediate for them at school. Yes. So what are some of the things that we can do now, the children at home and for the summer, that we can help support them so they won't lag behind, going back to school in the fall, if we go back, really?
Please, God.
I know which one.
Can we pray right now?
What are we praying?
Don't start, Pastor Cynthia. Don't start her.
What are we praying? Yes or no?
That's social interaction. I don't know if I can do this anymore. I'll be hugging my computer like,
it's a yes. Okay.
So what the things that you can do is sometimes teachers will have an agenda or something that they normally give you something that the child should be working on over the summer. So maybe looking at their next grade level, where they're going, whether it's fifth grade, Google's great. Go to Google, see what are the things that child needs in fifth grade. And then starting small. I just told my son, I said, starting Monday, it's over. We're going to be sitting down for an hour a day. You got to read a book. You have to do some writing, those kind of things like that. We have to do that. And I was like, and I'll pick the hour. Because he'll have me up at 7:00 talking about let's go, So So I said, an hour a day, something as simple as that. Reading is one of the most important things, though. I believe that getting them to get books that they like. I don't care whether it's comic books or graphic novels, the books with the short, like having them just read, because it's important that they're reading things they like so that they can continue reading.
Right.
I've regressed a lot. A lot of things that were supposed to be taught had to be either shortened or thrown out and replaced with something else. So when they go back in September, we've already talked about, I can speak for my school, we've already talked about having to actually go back a couple of months. So things that I teach fourth, so things that they would have learned toward the end of third, I will have to start there and then move them in. So, really just doing those kind of things and getting them ready. And not to the point where you're like, we're going to have school. Just doing fun things, doing some projects, doing maybe a research project on something that they like to do so that they're working with their hands, and not so much on the computer. They might have to look up the computer to research stuff, getting them some art supplies and letting them do things like that. I'm having them listen to music and kind of say, okay, what do you think those words mean? So there's different things you can do to make the learning fun over the summer without having to, bombard them with, we got to get ready for September, because nobody knows what September looks like.
Right.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. No, my question is, when school start, the reality is the injustice is gonna fester back up. That conversation, because these children are going to be coming back to school. There's going to be a whole lot of commotion going on, and they're going to be looking at, you treated me like this. No, you said this. So what would you say to a parent that would help them prepare their child for injustice situations that would be not cool for them? Because I went through it, right? I'm the 11th of 15 children. My parents were the bishop and the elect lady. So when I went through the injustice, in the suburban school, we just had to deal with it, which made me consequently be a hands-on mom, right? And I dealt with those things. But now that things are like it is now, it's a whole new beast.
Yeah.
Are gonna go to school. My grandchildren, God, I'm at another chapter. That book has been closed. But my grandchildren, I am concerned about what it's going to be like with all of this, because it's going to be at the time when this trial is going to be. It's going to be a lot of stuff on the news. So now, before we get to the trial and everything goes crazy again, how can parents prepare their children so education is at the top? The learning won't be affected by what's getting ready to happen.
All right. So one of the things I'd say is, what are the parents doing now? While this is going on, what are the parents?
Some of them is looting. Some of them tearing up buildings and tearing cars over.
But we can't speak to them. They obviously have some issues.
I say that it's what are you doing now to talk to your children about what is going on in your community? Again, you can't rely on, and I am a teacher, and I say this because I am a minority in my school district, so I know how it works. I know how the system works. I know how I know all the players involved. So when I say that you are your child's first teacher, what are you teaching your child at home about what is going on in their community? We've had 25 shootings or 30 shootings lately in our community. What are you talking to your child about? What are you talking about on the news? There's articles right up. I mean, Google's great. There's articles in Scholastic and things like that are talking about the protesting and the looting and the rioting. There are articles that your child could be sitting and reading, and you guys can be having that discussion. It's almost like when you're at church and you're arming your children for the environment, right? For the outside of the church, people that are not saved. You're arming your child. How are you arming your child when they go to school in September against all of this? It's the same thing that you do at church. It's the same thing you have to do when your kids are in school, because those are systems that are in place. And it's always important that you make sure that you are educating your children
Right.
in regards to that, so that when they do go to school, they can recognize when they're being treated unfairly.
Right.
What are the things to look for when you're being treated unfairly by your teacher? How do you know that teacher is treating you differently from another child?
Right.
What is it? That's a lot of the work is for parents to be able to arm their children with that. And I don't mean to keep throwing it on the parents, but I know what it looks like in school, and I know the way the system is set up. And the system is always set up so that it just kind of goes with the system always goes with what's in the curriculum, right? They always want to stick to the book and the way the book is written, right? They never want to go outside the book and really explain what's really going on, what life really looks like, how that book pertains to their life. You know, we don't want to get into those discussions because as a teacher, I'm not, but you may be uncomfortable with that conversation.
Right.
You may have some biases, or you may have some racist issues that you're dealing with, and that's why you're not able to. You don't want to hear that.
Right, because I had our principals in a school, and when my daughter goes in, they sent out a message. I can't say exactly what it was, but it was something to the tune that, you know how they have the school counselors or their groups to help children go through difficult times. He sent out a message saying, because the riots were in Albany, he sent out a message saying that he wanted to let you know that these counselors or school psychologists are there if you need in relation to what's going on in Albany, And so I'm like, well, what about the deeper issue? You see what I'm saying? You're all ready to confront what's going on in Albany with them, because my daughter goes to a predominantly, a white school, and so you're all ready. But what about the conversation that I have to have with my children because they're Black? Because my sons, I have to tell them, no hoodies and pull your pants up. Don't walk with your pants up. Keep your head up and watch your company. All of these conversations I have. So you're concerned about riots, but meanwhile, I haven't seen anything about other things that the school needs to be discussing in order for us to be able to be comfortable sharing our experiences, and so you can understand us. And so I sent him a nice little note, nothing too harsh, because I'm not too harsh. I try not to.
You never send the harsh one out first.
Yeah. Not first. I got no response.
You send the nice one out, like I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know because I'm concerned. If that concern is not addressed, then that's where you go with. I never got a response from him. He never responded. I don't know, because like I said, I don't know what the school mail is doing, so I don't know. But I didn't get a response, because I'm saying, yes, I'm concerned with the riots in Albany too, but there's a bigger issue here, that for you to be sending this email out to the mothers, because most of the mothers and stuff probably that's really going to respond, who they are, So what about my child is found? They want to know, why are Black men constantly, being choked? Like, why did they have to have the riot? Why was the cop on one and next? So, why is I have to explain in this situation? My daughter's 8. I have to explain this to her at 8. I had to explain these issues to my children at a young age that they don't have to explain to their children. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so then you want to counsel their children, obviously, about, what's up with the riots. But I want to say on another end that my daughter went to the dentist. I'm at the eye doctor last week. And I was just so surprised. I'm on my phone while she getting her eye exam. I'm like, minding my own business, my own world. And so the eye doctor goes, so what do you think about what's going on in our environment right now?
And so he said, do you know about Martin Luther King? Do you know about Harriet Tubman? He asked all these different, he said, well, people, feel uncomfortable about, different racial issues that's going on right now. I'm like, whoa. And he goes, he has, I guess he adopted a Chinese or Indian little boy. He said, my son has been pulled over by the cops, for no reason at all. He said, this is something that we're going through. I'm sure your parents are talking to you about it. And I was like, wow, so he opened that discussion, he's comfortable opening that discussion. And Deja was like, yeah, my sister and my cousin marched. So it was an open conversation. I'm saying that to say this. That's where our schools should be. That we can all have this conversation, so understand, so we can empathize and sympathize with one another in the situations that we're on, and then we won't have so much tension in our society. Because it starts at school,
And I would say to the dentist because that's who I am, I would say to the dentist, did he also ask his white clients that same question?
No, I didn't think about that one. I was just so shocked. I don't think about that. Yeah, you're right.
You're right. Yeah.
There's another question. It says, I came in a little late, but my question is, how do we help our children deal with the reason school abruptly closed due to COVID-19 and can't come together with friends? She said Lady Grace just started answering the question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I was talking about but the one thing, this is a great opportunity for what's happening with COVID. This is a great opportunity we are all being educated on our history, right? We're all being educated on, you have the tearing down of the statues and what they represent. And so these are all teachable moments. And at this present time, we are not in school. So that's why I keep saying it's on the parents. But when school does come in session, my last thing is to be involved in the school and what they're teaching your children. And what are they teaching your children? Are they teaching your children about those Confederate people? Yeah. Are they teaching you? Does your child know about Andrew Jackson? Do they know about, they know about all those people. You know why? Because the system is set up to teach our children and to continue to keep our children oppressed by teaching them about those people. And that's why they know about those people and they don't know about the people of what we've done, the people that have come up. Now, and I'm not talking about the Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, the same people that everybody knows.
Right.
I'm talking about people that they don't know. Teaching about you may not know.
Right.
So it's important that you ask your principal at your school, what are you doing? Not just during Black History. Black History, that's not cool. Black history is history. It should be taught all year long.
About
one of the white figures, you also should be teaching about, who discovered the North Pole. Matthew Henson discovered the North Pole.
Right.
He was right there beside him, but they don't mention him.
Right.
Teaching children, it's our history. It's everybody's history.
Exactly.
Ugly. Right. Yeah. So what is your school doing? Not just putting up a Black Lives Matter post saying we're for you. What are your actions? Now, this is the time when parents can stand up and say, I want to know what you're teaching my children that shows them that Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, you're right.
And so, they have Board of Education. We have people on the Board of Education that are making decisions for our school system that they're not even in tune to the community and what is going on. So making sure that you have candidates on there that are for the community, that look like the community that they represent.
Right.
So it's important that it's not even about it's sometimes not even about what happens in the building as much as it is about people who are making the decisions for that building.
Right.
And so that comes back to voting and stuff.
And so when I was having issues just like everybody else was having issues during this time, because you have to understand, not only was I dealing with COVID, I have my own kids to raise, I had to teach, and then, all of this hit with George Floyd and everything. So I'm dealing with all of that, and I'm trying to teach, be involved, I'm actively involved in my union. So, dealing with, we had the board thought it was smart to gut our whole reading department.
Yes, I heard that.
So 26 teachers were laid off. And these teachers that were laid off are teachers that have been working in the school system for 20, 25 years. So they had their whole life for the school district. And now we don't have the money because of COVID. And so there's no need for reading teachers. Well, the teachers will do it. Well, that's all great to say, is that the teachers will do it, but it's not great to say when who is actually being affected by the reading teachers not being there. It's the Black, brown, and children.
Yeah.
Because you have a board that is not in touch with the community. You now
don't care. And these are things that we need to bring to light. These are things we need to bring to light.
So those are things that are happening. So you're gutting an entire reading department, which is the kids that don't get that parental support at home. Those kids are lagging behind. And because now you had reading teachers that were helping them, you've now taken that support away. And so now you have these children that are going to be back. Again, we're regressed. The kids are already regressed because we're already feeling blind.
Yes.
These are things that people don't see. They just kind of see that whatever somebody tells them. And I always tell my kids to make sure that whenever somebody tells you something, ask, who made it, check the sources of where it's coming from. And then just a closer look, So those are things that I teach my own, not my own kid. I call my own kids my students. I have to remember. I'm like my kids, and then I'm like, they're all my kids, but kids I teach. So I always let them know that when people tell you stuff, you have to check and make sure that that's really what's going on. And I tell the parents that too. I'm like, you know what? When we have parent conferences, I don't hold back.
I love that. I love that.
I tell them first what is good, what's going on good with their kids. And then I tell them, look, this is what we need to do. I'm not afraid to pick up a phone. I'll pick up that in the middle of class and be like, such and such is having a problem, and maybe you need to come, or maybe, and I don't say you need to come. I say, Harry needs to come over to the phone, and maybe you should talk to him about what he's doing. And we do that right in class, because the way I treat my kids at home is the way I treat my kids in school. So I don't play teacher. I teach all day long.
I love it.
It's important that and the parents know. They know that I'm involved. They know that I care about their kids. And a perfect example was I had a parent that was giving their kids toys, and she was working a lot. She's a nurse's aide, so she was working long hours. And so she didn't really have the support, and she didn't really have the time. And so she would give her kid lots of gifts and stuff. She would feed him, they go to Walmart, they buy toys and stuff like that. And so I got her, we got in a parent conference, and she started talking, and she's like, I'm a single parent, and it's just so hard. I'm working. And, well, when you've been in the business so long, you're like, you know what? I'm a single parent too. And let me tell you, and that's exactly how I went about it. And I was just like, let me tell you, I'm a single parent too. I go, he doesn't want your choice.
Right. Yeah, he wants you.
Right.
Go out together. Go out to dinner together. Talk. Be together. Stop buying him things. That is not his attitude or his situation here at school. You need to spend time with him. He really wants you. And he thinks that you buying him things, you think that buying him things is showing him that you care, but it's not. It's doing more harm than good. So, those are conversations that I think we have to have with with parents, and parents should be open to those conversations, because sometimes I think like that shows that you care. You're just not giving them the, okie doke, like, oh, your kid is doing good, but they can improve. No, your kid needs to learn their math facts. They're not going to be able to go anywhere unless they learn these math facts, And so you need to get some flashcards from the dollar store. And you need to work every night before he goes to bed. So I'm not just giving you a piece of paper with the writing on it. I'm telling you how to do it. And it's not anything, I'm not asking you to go out of your way. I'm asking you to help out. And I always take it from the point as we're working together to make sure your child is a success.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is important. I always say that, and I always tell the kids that like education is like Mandela says, education is the most powerful weapon which you can have to change the world. So I'm always telling the kids that to be educated and to educate is the most, nobody can take away your education.
That's right.
It's a free education. Take it, learn from it, and use it to make the changes that you see that are not right. And so those are things that I tell, because there was one more thing I was going to tell you. I lost my train of thought because it's my ADHD. Yep, it's gone.
No, it's the age. You said ADHD. Did you say age?
I have ADHD, and then you add the age on. It's gone.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's coming back. If it does, I'll let you know. But I know what it is.
It came back.
It came back quick. It never happened. With everything that was going on, I think I was talking about this, is that I was like so upset with everything that was going on. And then, having to go online and go to meetings and try to act like everything is going okay. But you see all your fears on TV played out in front of you. All the things that you do at school to try to act like, there's not racism, there's not microaggressions going on at school, that the teachers are not, that they have their biases, and that they may not think you're as smart as they are, because that's who they are, they white privilege. So, you're fighting all of these battles all the time, but to have that played out on the big screen and have the stories and all the things that people have been feeling, and then you go on a meeting and someone says, oh, what did you do over the weekend? Oh, I went up to so-and-so, and oh yeah, I went out to the park. Yeah, we went bike riding. And you're sitting there like, for real? For real? I cried all weekend. For real? So this is your life, right? And didn't even ask how I was doing. Didn't have no concern with, well, how was your weekend? Well, I couldn't even get out the words, because I'm one of those people that sometimes I'm nice and then sometimes I'm harsh. And I just didn't think it's one of those things, if you don't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
No, I know. And then you get labeled, because you're frustrated. It's humanism. You're labeled. The angry black woman. They see themselves in this, No,
and so it was so stressful for me. I mean, I was just like, I cannot believe these people are talking about how they went bike riding and they did all this stuff over the weekend. And I literally sat in front of the TV and cried, because I have 2 black sons. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have to go back to school with everything on display, so people now know, how I really feel, because, I really feel like these people that are talking, but I don't say it. Mm-hmm. And so I went to school one day and I talked to my principal. I went in and talked to my principal, and we talked about doing like a book study. And I said to him, he said, last year I did a professional development on reimagining education. So it's like reimagining education, the way education should look with Black input. How does it look? So, but this year we're going to do a book study. So he calls me in. He's like, oh, I found some good books, and he starts going on and he starts looking for the books and stuff. And he goes, we could do this book and we could do this book. And I'm sitting there like, no. And he's like, well, I was thinking we could do these books because, it's how to teach our kids. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. I said, no, that's not what I want to do. I said, I don't want to read a book about how to teach our kids. Our kids know. They know who they are. I said, it's the teachers that don't know who they are.
Yeah.
I was like, it's the teachers that need to read a book and address their racism.
Can I say something? Can I say something? I had my daughter in elementary school, and so this teacher had already taught my son, who was an honor roll student. So we didn't need an interaction because he's the A+ student. So we didn't need to do nothing. Parent-teacher conference going, all right, and we go. However, now my daughter comes and she has the same teacher, and my daughter's coming home saying little things. Mom, I raised my hand and she don't pick me. Mom, da, da, da. And I'm like, all right, out of 22 students, you're the only black one in there. That black hand going up. I know you see her sometime, all right? And so I called the school and left a message for her. No return call back. My daughter gets a report card, and it's not a good grade, all right? Now, the year before, she's a B student. I understand you may go to a C and then come back up, but you shouldn't have a D and an F, right? And in the process of me being a daycare provider, taking care of all these children, all of the responsibility, I don't realize she didn't call me back. So about 3 times I call, hello, this is Mrs. Anderson. Can you give me a call back? I need to know how to help my daughter. I'm not liking this grade that she got. And then it hit me, you know, the black woman had to come out and said, oh, hold up. So I left a message. I said, hello. This is Mrs. Anderson. I've left you several messages.
So let me come
I
up.
don't get a call today. I'm going to call my attorney. My attorney will reach you. You're teaching my daughter who is struggling. I'm a parent that care. You're not returning a call. I promise you. About 10 minutes, my phone rang. Hello, Mrs. Anderson. How are you? This is the assistant principal. You know what I said? Don't play with me. I am not talking to you. Now, we had a great rapport, right? But don't play. You try to take up for her.
Right.
This is a child we're talking about, right? So let me tell you how serious this thing got. But there was a method to the madness, right? Now, my children, we were living in the city. So the urban suburban program, they were being bussed out to Penfield. And so, you know, that's, you don't bother with systems because we can throw you out. But what you don't understand is when you took my child in, you said you contracted my child to 12th grade, to graduation. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to threaten me that you're going to take my child out of the school. So it ended up, I said, guess what? I'm on my way to the school. So I tell my husband, come on, because I know it's good. You got to, you know, hold me down, keep my temper and all that good stuff. So we go to the school. Now, I went to that school. So I know the in and out of the school, right? So I said to him, we're going in the back door because I know security's waiting on me at the front door. We get to the back door. Security says, they're here. They're at the back door. So I clicked on my phone and I saw video all the way to the office. I get to the office, I said, because the principal said, the teacher doesn't feel comfortable talking to you because you threatened her. I said, listen, I'm a Christian. So some things I can't do. I can't cuss. I can't act crazy because I'm a Christian. But I can be assertive, right? So I said, play the message back to me. Well, we can't do that. You got to subpoena this and your lawyer. That's fine. Y'all heard it. Well, we don't have the message. You do because you played it for him. That meant you didn't erase it. Long story less long. I ended up, I said, all right, let's have a meeting. We'll come, have a meeting, we'll talk about it. I get to the meeting, they got all her teachers, they got psychiatrists in the room, everybody's coming, me and my husband come in and sit down. Mrs. Anderson, do you have something you want to say? I said, absolutely not. I said, because what I have to say ain't gonna change from what none of y'all say. So I'm gonna listen to you all, then I'll talk. So in the process of it, the teacher don't know I'm gifted to read lips. So I'm looking at her and she's just trashing me to the teacher next to her. So I sat there and, you know, and I wasn't even acting like Cynthia. I was just being a Christian. And so when it came my turn, I looked over across the table and I said, sweetie, I'm a master at reading lips. Do you want me to tell everybody what you just said about me? She turned red. She said, no. I said, well, I'm not. I said, but this is what I'm going to do. I am removing my daughter from your class. You all fix her schedule, find her another teacher, and then she'll return. Well, how are you going to do that, Mrs. Anderson? I said, easy. I'm a licensed daycare provider. I can maneuver the way I want to maneuver. I said, every time it's her class, I will be here to pick up my daughter to take her to eat. And I will bring her back for her next class. She'll be on time. When you all figure out the schedule to get her another teacher, then she'll be back in that class, not until then. I said, because if she'll talk about me, I'm right here, what has she been doing to my daughter in this class? So here comes a whole staff of urban suburban ringing my doorbell. I said, y'all come on in. Y'all want something to drink? So they said, Mrs. Anderson, we want to tell you, we appreciate you. We thank you for being assertive. I said, I thought y'all was coming to try to kick my daughter out, but y'all know y'all wasn't going to be able to do it. But now, that was one. And so I say this to tell parents, don't be afraid to fight for your children. My daughter is doing wonderful. Now, the second piece to that, the school contacted me and they had them in the room on speakerphone. Said, Mrs. Anderson, you challenged us. You pushed us. What they threw at me, she's tenured. We can't touch her job. You can't touch her job, and she can't touch my child. If she can't be disciplined, she don't have rights to teach my child. Right? So they said, you taught us a very valuable lesson that we have to learn how to educate other children that are not like us, children of color. I said, point made. Thank you. Now, tell me who her teacher is. She'll come back because I'm tired of going out to eat.
Yeah, because she don't like going out to eat like us. She likes cooking.
And I like those people too.
Fight for your children. Fight for your children. My parents did not. My parents did not.
Yeah, mine
and it caused me to build up a resentment.
Right.
And you don't have to do that. It harms with children.
Right. It causes issues with the education. You know, it causes issues with children, their relationship with school, let's say. Right. And so you protect your child, but there's a lot of parents that are not intervening. And so it causes a gap. And so they don't want to go to school and they're not learning. And it's not that they're not capable. It's not that they're not smart. It's not that the information is too challenging for them. It's that because something happened that hurt them, that caused them now, their relationship with education has been broken. And that's a major problem that we're having in the education system.
A lot of it is what your experience was with school. So sometimes your experience wasn't good with school, and so that carries over to your child.
Right.
You know? And we have a lot of parents that are like that might have had bad experiences, might not have graduated from high school, might not have finished school. And so you can see that fear that like these people may know more than me. That fear that I don't want to go up there because they may be telling me something I don't know, and so that stops a lot of parents from having that relationship. But I say letting your children see that you want better for them, and that if you didn't finish school, you still are concerned about them finishing school because you want your children to do better than what you've done. Right. So just encouraging your child to say, look, I'm going to go up here. I'm going to see what the issue is. And I swear to you, if you really do go any of those things that I said, whether it's donating to PTA, whether it's you go up, the husband goes up the next time, or, whatever it is, like letting those teachers know that you are present really makes a difference in how those teachers treat you, because sometimes they have issues where they think you're not, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's true, but they think, well, they haven't answered my call. They haven't answered the call because they work at night and they sleep during the day.
Right. I got 2 jobs,
Right.
They're on a time schedule. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So making sure, even if it's a phone call, look, I want to know how they're doing. Even if it's picking up the phone, they have those new apps, the Dojo, the Seesaw, where the kids are, the parents are writing right on the app. So you also have a log of your correspondence with the teachers. Okay. So just making sure that you are present for those children and that the children see that you are present. If it's bringing that kid to the parent conference with you, when you're talking to, like, whatever you say to me, he was here, he experienced it.
Yeah,
I do that. Yeah. So right there. So and you know what I said, and you know what she said. So you know who you can trust.
Exactly.
My son, talking about him, he's in the other room. He's 20. He's 20. He just turned 21. He had like a speech impairment, and so he was going to school, and he had speech issues. So all through school, he was getting speech impairment. Speech. He, labeled with the IEP and everything. And I say I'm a single parent, but I do have, their dads are involved. So one of the things that his dad and I would go to these parent conferences together. So we always went together. Like, it's like, we're not going to fall for the, we're together. Yep. Here, we're not together when we leave out the door, but we're together here. So, and we would go to the parent conferences and stuff and listen and went for one. Everything was going good. He was actually in a self-contained class. He needed that smaller, those smaller classrooms to get that information. And so I think he was 10th grade. We went to a meeting, and so they were talking about it. And
okay.
Y'all want me to finish that solo?
I really commend her for doing what she does on a daily basis, because it requires a certain amount of patience and tenacity to do what she does. I did it for a few years as a sub, and I'm telling you, what I've learned has been life-changing. And even in the conversation in the break room, they would have conversation about kids and about their parents. And just like you said, Cynthia, they do the same. They be killing the parents, and they be killing the children, and they be killing this and that. And I think as a parent, we must know that we need to be committed to our child by showing up. We got to show up. We got to have a conversation. We got to demand a meeting. And one thing, I believe the principal and the school was concerned, if the Anderson came up there and a lawyer was involved, I'm certain that some other Black kids went through the same thing, and it's a possibility it was going to be a class action.
And you know what, Pastor Barbara, what's happening was a lot of the African American parents start removing their children out, putting them in city schools. And I told them, I said, no, these children are getting a great education. Make sure you make the system do what it's supposed to do. They contracted them. My children went right across that stage. Thank you, number one. Thank you. Here go number two. All the way to number six. Thank you. They got that good education. Jonah, he got his good one too. He get ready to get his diploma too. Amen.
Yeah. That's what I did. I was there with all 5 of my children. I showed up. I was working. There was moments that I couldn't get there, but I would text the teacher or call the teacher or even email the teacher to make sure that the children, all 5 of my children, was doing well. If they wasn't, and then there was moments that I needed to go to the school to be with the principal, and we both had to have a conversation with the child, I was there. And so just like you said, parents need to be there. They need to be up in front. They need to be, they need to have that conversation with their teacher. If that child is not learning or need a little bit of additional help, give them the help they need. And I was just telling the ladies, I substitute teaching for middle school, and it's very interesting in that grade, and the conversation that you hear in the break room and the cafeteria area with the teachers, just dogging the parents, just dogging. I'm like, I'm a substitute teacher. You don't even know who I know, but to know that they do talk about your children. And they do talk about the parents. And so you have to make them accountable, and you need to push the button and say, we need to talk. We need to deal with the situation, and don't let them get by.
My son that's getting ready to graduate this year, we had a closeout Zoom. We were all on there crying.
Wow.
And I loved it because they said, now I live in this is the higher in Rochester, the highest education schools are where I live at. And with this COVID thing, it was a new thing. I had six children in my house with Chromebooks and different grades and that. And so, the harder one is the senior. And so I had to push those teachers. Listen, y'all release these children without a guide, and y'all just letting them fall through the cracks because y'all going through, those teachers are going through themselves.
Right.
And so then you got all these students and you don't know what to do. So, but here's my senior. I'm not concerned about the rest of them. Here, we got to come with a plan. And so at the end, we're all crying because their words again said, you pushed us. You set the stakes high, Mrs. Anderson, and you made us rise all the way to the top. Do it. Do it for your.
Amen. So we want to give you, Tenika, your last words, final words, and I still will take a monologue if you got one.
I was on the thing. I was telling you about my son. So we were in the meeting, and real quick, and they were talking. So we got him out of the self-contained class. We were like, you could do more, whatever. So we put him in an integrated. And that's the thing. If you're asking for help, if your kid needs help, and if you know your kid, they need teach. If the teacher is saying they need OT, PT, they need to be, special ed. Listen, these are services. These are support services. So sometimes I hear people say, well, I don't want my kid labeled. You don't want your kid to get help. That's the only way they can get help is if they're labeled.
Right.
And again, we're talking about the system. So you have to make sure that whatever supports are in place, you have to make sure your child is getting them. The other thing is you have to make sure that when they get those supports, that they're followed through.
Yeah.
If that teacher's supposed to come 3 times a week, an hour a day, then you check with the teacher and see if that teacher can 3 times a week, an hour a day to help your child. So those are just little things that, it doesn't take much. It just takes a conversation.
Right. Right.
And so anyway, they said my son wasn't going to graduate. So he went to, he was integrated. They said he wasn't getting a high school diploma. They said he was getting like a work diploma or whatever. And we were like, what? What's going on? So anyway, that didn't happen. My son did graduate from high school. He's in his senior year at Sage. So I say that to say that there's potential. You know how far your kid can go. You are your child's first teacher. So I'm going to leave you with that. You are your child's first teacher. So it's important for you to take the initiative to make sure that your child is getting the education that they deserve.
Yeah.
The education that they deserve.
Yeah.
All right. So free education, take it, learn from it, and teach others. And that's one of the reasons I love children. So that's why I got into teaching.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be a nurse, but that didn't work out so well. I found out I didn't like blood, but it doesn't matter. I did go like this, saw a little blood, and I just thought.
And you don't see no blood in school, huh?
I do. But,
you do, but not as much, right?
Because I'm honest, when I tell kids what I was supposed to be doing with my life, that if I see blood, and I tell them that was my plan A. You always have to have a plan B. You always have a backup, right? So I always wanted to work with kids. Nursing did not work for me. I wanted to be a pediatrician. I was going to be like this, help kids, help the sick, blah, blah, blah. Didn't work out. Blood came, I fainted. Long story short. So anyway, so then I saw kids, so I became a teacher. I tell the kids that story to tell them that there's always a plan, always have a backup plan. Doesn't mean that you're not striving for that plan A, but just always have something in the back in case things don't work out. And so because I tell them that and I don't like blood, I tell them when they have them bloody nose, go like this, put the tissue over it, head out. I can't even see it. You want me to pass out? I can't even see it. So it's a joke, but it's true. But the kids love it. They think that this teacher has really lost her mind. But I really don't like blood. So I think being transparent, also letting the kids know that you are who
human.
you are.
Yep.
You know, that I am a human being. I have kids that drive me absolutely crazy. By the time my kids come to visit them in class, they're like, they know all about them. They told my daughter, my God, your feet are big. I was like, oh, I forgot I told them that story about her big feet and I couldn't find those shoes for her. But, it's just funny. It's just, she's like, my God, your feet are huge. So she came in, she didn't come back. He said, you're telling these kids about me? But, I just, it's one of those things. And I know that our education system, this is really the time to really go into the education system and find out what they're teaching your children. Yeah. This is an open, we talk about defunding the police and making all these changes in our government and stuff like that. Something as simple as, I have wrote it down, like something as simple as filling out the census. That gives money to your schools. Yes. Something as simple as that, making sure that your census is filled out so that we get money for our schools to support our schools. So, there's little things you can do that are not going to take a lot on you because of whatever your lifestyle is. Right. But also letting the school know that you're involved and letting your children see that you're involved.
Thank you. We appreciate you. We appreciate you as a sister and as an educator in our school system, representing us with love and patience and skills. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next time we're going to do the dialogue. I know our time is running late, but thank you. We're going to get you back. We're going to hear some poems and stuff like that. I would love to see and hear your work. So thank you, Soul Sisters.
I'll have my sisters come out with me. All right.
Yes. But thank you. Have a good one. Be blessed.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Barbara.